They came from different corners of the struggle. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born to a lineage of Baptist preachers, shaped by the pulpit and powered by nonviolence. Malcolm X, forged in fire, his father killed, his youth spent in shadows, rose from prison to prophet through the nation of Islam and beyond. Where King saw dreams, Malcolm saw awakening. One carried a Bible, the other a warning. Both, however, carried the weight of a people. By the early 1960s, they stood as twin pillars of resistance. One called for peace, the other for power. The media played them against each other. Politicians feared them separately. And in 1964, they met. A brief handshake at the US Capitol. One flashbulb, one photo, and then history turned. But what if everything had been different? What if that handshake became something more? What if two visions became one voice? What if history got it wrong? Imagine this. After the handshake, they step aside into a quiet hallway. The cameras turn elsewhere. They sit in an empty room and talk, not in debate, but in honesty. Malcolm, fresh from his pilgrimage to Mecca, speaks with a new tone. King, weary from Birmingham and Montgomery, listens not as a preacher, but as a brother. Hours pass. Barriers crack. A blueprint is drawn, not of compromise, but of coordination. Weeks later, reporters start to speculate. Rumors swirl. And then, a headline appears in the New York Times. Malcolm X and Dr. King announce Civil Rights Unity Council. Press conferences follow. The country takes notice. Their first joint action? A march through Birmingham. Not a protest, but a demonstration of balance. King's nonviolence met with Malcolm's insistence on protection. They walk side by side. There are no dogs, no batons, no fear, just people. Thousands. The government watches closely. In Washington, J. Edgar Hoover convenes emergency meetings. The FBI expands its surveillance. Informants are placed in every room they enter. COINTELPRO shifts from disruption to desperation. But the men stay one step ahead. They share information, they tighten security, they trust each other. When King delivers his landmark Beyond Vietnam speech in 1967, Malcolm X is there. Not at the podium, but standing behind him, silent but present. The speech, once controversial, now echoes across the country with twice the weight. Together, they criticize not just war abroad, but injustice at home. Their message becomes harder to dismiss. That year, Selma becomes something different. Armed members of the Deacons for Defense stand beside local pastors. King leads the march. Malcolm organizes perimeter strategy. Bloody Sunday never happens. Instead, it's remembered as the Day of Unity. A turning point. Not because of confrontation, but because of preparation. They begin hosting televised town halls together. Not polished debates, but raw conversations with communities. Inner-city mothers, steel mill workers, veterans. Malcolm speaks plainly. King speaks passionately. People listen. Donations flood in. New leaders rise under their mentorship. Names like John Lewis, Angela Davis, Jesse Jackson, they all train under the new alliance. Assassination attempts come. They're expected, but this time they fail. In Chicago, a sniper is stopped by a tip. In Harlem, a bomb is disarmed by a security detail trained by former military veterans. The protection works because it's built on community, on vigilance, on knowing they can't afford to lose either man. By the 1970s, they're older, softer in tone, sharper in purpose. They appear in documentaries. They're interviewed by international journalists. In Ghana, President Kwame Nkrumah invites them to speak. In South Africa, ANC leaders smuggle in tapes of their speeches to inspire the imprisoned. In London, the BBC airs their joint appeal to the United Nations. Back home, they shift focus to education and economics. They launch a national charter school network. They create a Black-owned banking system. They push politicians, but never run themselves. They believe leadership belongs to the people. not personalities. Their efforts reshaped the Democratic Party's platform in the 1976 and 1980 elections. When Ronald Reagan wins in 1980, many expect their influence to wane, but it doesn't. Instead, it sharpens. They speak to the disillusioned, to factory workers and laid-off teachers. They appear on 60 Minutes, on Nightline. Malcolm's edge has softened into wisdom. King's voice still soothes, but it carries fire now too. They don't always agree on faith, on tactics, on policy. They challenge each other often, but their disagreements are now iron sharpening iron. And when one is sick, the other shows up. When one speaks, the other amplifies. Their brotherhood becomes something rare in American history, consistent. In classrooms across the nation, textbooks are rewritten. Kids don't just read about the "I have a dream" speech or the autobiography of Malcolm X. They watch interviews. They read essays. They learn what it means to disagree without division. The nation matures, slowly, painfully, but visibly. In 1985, they attend a youth conference together in Atlanta. Cameras roll. Students ask, "What's your biggest regret?" Malcolm replies, "That we didn't start sooner." King nods and adds, "That we waited for permission to lead together." The audience is silent. Then they stand. The applause lasts minutes. By 1990, the two men are old, slower, grayer, but no less bold. They write a book together. It's titled Still Rising. The foreword reads, "We didn't always see eye to eye, but we always saw the same mountain. And when they pass, first one, then the other, it's not in violence, but in peace, surrounded by family, honored by the world."
Statues rise. Not just one of each, but one of both. Together. On the steps of every courthouse that once tried to silence them. In our timeline, we lost them too early. We divided their legacies. We forced a choice between sword and shield, fire and water. But in this story, this alternate path, they chose each other. And the nation changed. Stay tuned next time for another episode of What If History Got It Wrong?